again. It's somebody's birthday. While in the West Bottoms, I thought I would try this coffee shop that I saw here when we were down here over the weekend doing the antiquing. We're in the Stuffology building. It's called Java Garage. Coffee.
Number 42 is what they do. That's what they did. Put numbers on the bottom.
Come on, doggies. Come on. What, you think I forgot about my dogs? Never. The weather was supposed to change for the winter weeks ago, as predicted, but some predictions don't come true, thankfully. So, yeah, we'll take advantage of this. Jimmy, you don't know what you'd do if you caught that cat. You probably find out how mean a cat can be. Walking under the 12th Street Bridge. Something lovely. I wonder how old these cobblestones are. They're probably pretty darn old. Right, Stella? Catching the tail end of a train. I'll take it. Beautiful orange in October. Nice. The West Bottoms was kind of the original warehouse, industrial, slum, working class area of Kansas City. And we're at the Union Interlocking. So named because it served the original Union Station, which was right in here. I believe it was on this side of the street. And when you came out of Union Station, late 1800s, the first thing you were greeted by was a whole bunch of shops across the street, which were there to sell you everything. But they were like, well, it wasn't shops, it was bars, brothels, gambling halls, and of course people trying to sell you stuff. And so people's first impression of Kansas City was kind of like a huckster place, not the most favorable. And up on the hill there is Quality Hill, and that was probably the original highfalutin rich neighborhood, just within a spitting distance of where a lot of the workers lived that serviced the meat processing plants and everything down here. And two political factions formed in the city. The lower factions down here, called the Rabbits, I believe, because they were trying to climb the hill to get into where the pretty people were, get more rights and stuff. And then on top of the hill were the Goats, and those were the rich people. And somewhere down here, William Pendergast's brother had a bar, I guess, and somewhere along that street over there. And you know, back then Irish immigrants were among the lower classes of people, and so William Pendergast got his start in his brother's bar. I guess they were originally from St. Joseph, and ended up climbing that hill over there as a rabbit. Now I may have that wrong. Maybe it's the other way around, but I think that's true. Rabbits were below and the goats were above. One of the things that plagues the West Bottoms is flooding, and I think the last really big flood was 93. But usually what happens is the water backs up through the sewer system into all these lower level spaces, so you might see little watermarks around talking about the flood. The biggest flood was in 1951. And I guess it's enough to really give people pause about wanting to develop and live down here. I mean, it's a neat area. There's a lot of stuff to see, old stuff, but the smell down here is not so great. So there's definitely a need for infrastructure improvements down here, but I think that's why you see mostly is primarily commercial, and now it's becoming retail area rather than residential. Oh, for a second I thought that was a barber shop. This is new, whatever this is. Looks like a workspace. Now I know there are people who live down here. It's actually very quiet, but it's not set up to be residential, and a lot of people who do live here, the authorities kind of look the other way, because a lot of these buildings are really not set up for residential, you know, proper fire escapes and sprinkler systems and stuff. So the antique stores, or as I call them, junk-teak stores, have kind of taken over. Okay, so let me correct myself. I just realized, you know, modern technology, I have access to the internet while I walk, and I looked it up. The goats were the Pendergast faction, and the rabbits were their opposition. So the Pendergast faction were called goats because the Irish, who a lot of them live down here, like to raise goats for food and everything else. And I bet you that smelled wonderful. And Pendergast's opposition were called rabbits because Pendergast said that after the other side lost an election to his faction, they would be put out in the snow like rabbits. But somewhere, now somebody can correct me when I'm often wrong, or if I'm wrong, that the rabbits were also people who lived on top of the hill, and the goats were the people who lived down below. And if you live and work down here, you must develop a liking for trains, and there's a guy I know who runs a switch engine for Union Pacific. And he also knows that people live down here. He's friends with a lot of them. And it makes me wonder if that's him, and if he does that on purpose. I don't think it's him, because he operates Locotrol, which is like the world's biggest train set, you know, remote controlled locomotives. But man, that engineer loved to lay on his horn. And you know what? I don't blame him, really. That's kind of fun. But like I say, if you live down here, work down here, get used to that. And lastly, another industry that's moved down here, the weekend haunted houses. And every September, October, they get active. Actually, they start getting active at the end of August. It's a lot of fun. They all moved here from other places in the city. This is probably one of the bigger ones. It's in the old John Deere plow building. Lots of cool history down here. One of these buildings, I think it might be that one, I'm not sure. I don't know, is the old Studebaker building. You can get lost forever down here, just exploring. A lot of people do.